Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to From the Depths with me, Zicargo. We're over here in the land at designer mode again, looking at another couple of small sub-vehicles. This time, we have a matched pair of new vehicles. Now, these are essentially the updated version of the Skeeter. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, way back when I did an adventure mode where I focused on using sub-vehicles, and I came up with a little thing called the Skeeter. It made it into my land campaign, although it wasn't featured very much. A lot in the early bit, not so much later on. This is the original Skeeter. Now, let me just turn, there we go. Turn the sun on real quick. The Skeeter itself is only really about 2 meters tall most of the way through. It's like one layer thick with a pleat on either side of that. I'm pretty happy with this thing. Old Zicargo's skills were not quite as sharp as right now Zicargo's. This thing could float in the background pretty far away from the target with a pretty small cross section, all things considered. I really liked using this design, and I wanted an update to it, a higher performance update to it. So I was working on an update for it, and occasionally I look back at other craft. I was looking at a viewer submitted craft that used gyros for roll stabilization. It's a small little plane that had one single gyro for roll stabilization, and I thought, oh my god, gyros are amazing, I should put them on everything. And that was what was going through my head when I made the update to this. Now this used to be called the Skeeter Mk2. It has since been renamed to the Sentry Mk1, and it comes in 2 separate variants. So let's go ahead and say goodbye to the old Skeeter. Hello to the new Sentries. Now the Sentries, what have we got going on here? Well, first off, for the cannon variant, we have 8 of the simple weapon 94 millimeters. These are going to be firing this particular shell, 3 HE bodies. I know it's not very fast, but there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that in a minute. This particular design is coming in at 31,184, compared to the original coming in only at 12,000. It's not exactly an efficient upgrade. It's got twice the firepower for about 3 times the cost. Well, not quite 3 times. Close enough to 3, but over its smaller cousin, it has much better armor. The thing is actually made out of heavy armor with a pleat covering up everything else. So go ahead and we'll take a look in the back here. I've gone for a very power-dense engine because I tried out some other engines, and I kept running into this issue where I just wasn't seeing too much engine power. In the middle of a fight, we will spike up to use a substantial amount of engine power going either forward or backward. I tried a setup that just had superchargers on about half as many cylinders, and I just wasn't a fan of it. So I ended up settling on this one. With a small craft like this, I tend not to put exhausts coming out of the engine. I know it's a very efficient way of cooling it, but I just don't like the infrareds to be targeting my engine. So that's why it's radiated cool instead of any exhausts. And then the main frame is right in front of the engine, right next to the fuel storage. Not extremely secure, but hey, hopefully that's not the part of the craft that's getting hit. Over on the sides, we have these little engine nacelles, which I'm quite fond of. They have a little bit of repair and some extra storage for ammo, materials, whatnot. There's also shield projectors in here. These shields do go all the way up to strength 10 when there's an enemy around. So these things are fairly small craft with fairly small engines, but they have strength 10 shields, as well as a full heavy armor and a pleat facing. So I'm hoping that these should do pretty solid against laser craft. They don't have smoke. As for the gyros, really quick, I want to just take a look at this and give you a bit of a sense. Each one of the gyros is well, first off, if you've never seen this before, this is a spin block with heavy armor attached to it. The custom camo I have on here is something maybe I'll talk about another day. Took a spin block, put a bunch of weight on it. Could be lead, could be any block. In this case, I did heavy armor because the whole thing's already made out of heavy armor, so why not have it be durable? And then I set it to respond to my pitch controls, and the AI is, of course, controlling stuff that affects my pitch. So when this thing is flying, the gyros stabilize its roll and its yaw, as well as they help with its pitch. It's a little imperfectly balanced, so they're kind of just a constant force. This can be a very efficient thing to do with your crafts because it doesn't technically use any engine power. I mean, you're adding weight, which you have to apply thrust to support, but you get the idea. And as you can see, it can move quite quick, up to about 60, 70 meters a second. Oh my god. Goes a little higher than that when it's on a nice Tokyo drift. So, the shells for these. Why slow Hesh shell instead of, well, anything else? Basically, this cannon variant, you may have noticed earlier that there's a second one. This cannon variant has a purpose, and its purpose is to serve as a bit of an early game anti-tank support thing that I load in case a big craft. It's an oh shit button. I press a button and I spawn in a very heavy anti-tank oriented craft. These little shells may not seem like very much, but that is 5,000 damage on the spalling base damage. So if you're hitting metal, that's 5,000 kinetic damage with an AP of whatever the AP of Hesh is coming out of metal. Forget the formula right now, but I know it's good enough at this small of a gauge for fighting against armored targets. So that's what I've got stuck all over it. And yeah, I've been pretty happy with it. It's of course got an AI-controlled turret in here with an eye on it that stares at its foe, because all of my craft need that, apparently. What else? I did think about adding flares to this, but I kind of decided that I didn't really have the room for flares. I don't want to get rid of more material storage, and I don't really want to add more ammo. So I guess I could hollow out parts of these side compartments here and add a small flare launcher. I think that these big jets here, especially the forward-facing ones, are on 4 times. These can spike up to such a high heat whenever they have to fire that I think using any sort of infrared flares is not going to be too useful. And like I said, these are meant to support a larger craft, so radar flares are not even needed. They're supposed to be flying behind something else that should have a much higher radar signature. So we've foregone flares on this particular pair of vehicles, even though it seems like it might be a flare type vehicle. So speaking of the missile variant, it's got a slightly different internal setup, but for the most part it is the same. It just needs a little bit more ammo because the missiles chew through that. The missile variant here comes in at 31,268, 80 materials-ish off of the cannon variant. So as far as the missiles themselves, we've got the variable thruster on this turned all the way down to 63 on the thrust output. That makes these things really slow for small missiles. We've also got an APN and a signal processor so that hopefully they fire towards their target. And then we've got triple explosive warhead so that they get all the way up to that 640 explosive damage on each one of the missiles. So I'm not totally set on that particular missile setup. I think I'm going to come up with a couple different variants, like an air-to-air, like high tracking sort of setup, as well as a frag setup, and maybe an extra long-range setup as well. Not entirely sure. I'll have to fiddle around with it and see. Speaking of fiddling around with stuff, let's pop in some bad boys for these things to shoot. All right, so for the first test, I'm gonna put 10 of my cannon variants up against the Rhino. All right, so for this first test, we're gonna be testing 10 of the cannon variants up against a Rhino. Now for testing vehicles, I'm allowing myself to go against all of the Ashes of the Empire stuff because I've beaten that campaign with the difficulty maxed out, as well as some of the designs that I've seen before from the adventure mode. But for the most part, I haven't seen most of the late game design because it's been years since I played the Neater campaign, and I don't want to spoil myself for their designs. I also don't want to stick around in the designer mode until I feel like I am guaranteed to win because I know every vehicle and I know their weakness and I have a counter. We're going to go in unprepared and we're going to hope that we can wing it and win. And with that rant out of the way, let's get into the test. I wasn't intending to rant at you. It just kind of happened. But yeah, we're going up against the Rhino. So the Rhino still has a material advantage even up against 10 of our particular craft. Rambot himself is falling to the floor, which is why the camera is sliding down there. And it looks like one of our craft has been almost immediately tagged. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. Well, that is not optimal. And let me just make sure that really quick. Oh, I do have this on. Okay, let's turn that off. Yeah, so these next shells that are coming out, going much further off the mark. We have just the one that's damaged. It'll slowly be repairing itself, although it's currently upside down, so I don't think it's going to get back into the fight anytime soon. That being said, let's check up on the Rhino itself. Go ahead and pause it really quick. Ooh, it looks like we stripped all of the frontal armor off of the first one, as well as damaged part of its detection. Ooh. Oh my, block confetti. Okay, what do we got going on here? APS gauge snake. His APS shell's going wide. Not landing a shot. Oh, now that's interesting. Okay, so it looks like we have cut the gauge snake for 3 of them, and this one looks a little small. I'd be surprised to find out, yep, if it's, yep, this one's been cut as well. All right, so the only weapon it had that was really effective against our stuff was this initial APS here, because these cram are just too slow and too inaccurate to hit it, and that entire weapon system has been brought offline. This one is really struggling to find a target and shoot at it. What I do know is that that one Sentry has repaired itself up to 84%. It's not going to get off its back, but it didn't fall out of the fight. I think that's worth noting. So they do have repaired tentacles. You might say, but Zicargo, it lost its AI. It did lose its AI, but in the wake of that, it was falling next to its comrades, potentially repaired, sustained by nearby repairs. They do float as well. So if they fall, they'll float just under the surface while they get repaired. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, for the next test, we're going to be sending the missile variants up against the Atlas. Now, we've got 2 Atlas over here, and we've got 4 of our missile drones. The Atlas coming in at 92,500, the missile drone coming in at 31,268. So they have about 60,000 materials on us between the 2 of them, but nonetheless, I just want to show you what I think is good about this particular missile design as we rail this one over here. But the main thing I want to show off here is that we have taken 0 damage on any of our things. We are going to see these lights falling off. This is one thing that I have noticed. These lights are very vulnerable to explosion wrapping, and in particular, it's these lights right here. These lights fall off all the time whenever the thing is under fire, because flak shells like that blow them up. They generally get almost immediately repaired, which is quite nice. But I chose the Atlas to test against because the Atlas itself actually has a pair of flak cannons on both the front and the back. And if there is any opponent that I was intending to send these little planes up against that would be strong against, it would be these little flak guns here. So I think it makes a perfect matchup to test against. I say as the Atlas is, of course, flipping over and crashing into the ocean. So even with the 60,000 material advantage, they don't stand a chance. Now it is Deepwater Guard, but like I said, these are HE missiles, and I'm expecting to use that particular craft a lot in the early game. Why not test them against something bigger? The Marlin. Of course, the Marlin, even one Marlin still has a 20,000 material advantage, but just to see how these things do. It seems like there is definitely a delay in their yaw command. They should be facing their opponent, and why are you not facing your opponent? Marlin over here. Marlin's having a bad day. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's having a bad day. Real quick check, taking 1% damage on each of them. 1% is not enough to knock him out of the air. Doesn't matter which 1% they lose. Oh, 92% on one of them though. Let's go ahead and check out what's happened to this guy. Oh! Oh, it looks like one of his missile pods has been destroyed and he's fallen to the bottom of the ocean. Okay. It's... Ah, yeah, it's the ammo store. So this ammo store got blown up. There's not too much I can do about that. Aside from replacing what little material storage it has back into other stuff. So I guess we're gonna... That is the one downside with the missile variant, is that it needs a lot more ammo storage, and it's just not that big of a craft, so I don't have too many sneaky places to hide ammo. However, it did not lose its AI. It did not go below 80% HP. So that one is fully recoverable after the fight, and the other three won without taking so much as a scratch. I guess 1%. What is this? A different? It is a different one. Okay, I spoke too soon. This one also exploded from its ammo store. Alright, so what we've done is we've just changed the blocks around a little bit, dropped our maximum ammo. Turns out I actually had extra ammo. So on a previous version of this craft, there was actually about twice as many missiles. And so I already had the ammo set up to match that version's needs. But this one has a lot less launchers, so it needs a lot less ammo. So yeah, I was able to put some heavy armor in here to sort of safeguard these ammo compartments. And we had both of the craft that went down to the same issue. The applique got blown off the top or the bottom, and then the ammo compartment itself went up, and then that blew the whole missile setup off, as well as these jets right here. So these jets right here used to be directly underneath the ammo, or well, almost directly underneath the ammo, and the blocks that they were sitting on got blown off as well. The little change that we just made it so that both of the ones that got temporarily knocked out of the air, let's say, now would not. So let's actually just do that test again. All right, here we go. Rambot himself is on the ocean floor. Let's go ahead and pause it, get a nice view. So we've got a nice staggered fire to make sure it's a pretty continuous fire rate coming out of these. I don't want, you know, like a single instance of flares to throw them all off. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, look at all of that. What a nice block of confetti. Looks like we've taken 1% damage on a couple of them. And I just want to check really quick, is the light. Okay, so yeah, it's that one pesky light. Unfortunately, there's just nowhere else to shove these little lights, so they're gonna get shot off, but that's okay. Oh. God, I could watch this all day. Oh, look at the block confetti. I don't even need to see the pretty explosions, just the block confetti. This is it. This is peak from the depths right here. This is all I want to see is the block confetti. Explosions, they're nice too, but block confetti, oh, this is where it's at. Can't even hear myself think over the, oh God. Oh no, block confetti. Oh, there it is. Ah, block confetti. So glorious. Rest in peace, Marlin. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for this particular video. And if you liked this video, do me a favor, hit the like button. These designs are both going to go up on the Steam Workshop if the video hits 30 likes. Thanks to everyone who's been helping the channel grow, leaving likes and comments on the previous videos. It means an absolute huge amount, and the last video did very well because of it. So that's about the end of my YouTuber rant. I'm going to go back to play video games alone in the dark, because that's how I like to spend my time. Anyways, I've been Zicargo, and this has been fun. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Now, if you're a true From the Depths nerd just like me, you might be saying, hang on a second, Zicargo, what was that camo you were using on the heavy armor? I have gone through the entire in-game library of camouflages, and I don't recognize it. You must be hacking. Well, basically, I am. And this is the camo texture. So, let me just go down here and, whoop, whoop. Boom. There it is. I made a custom JPEG just to match the shield of this big boy over here, and I took a part of that JPEG and turned it into a texture. So, you know, I've had some people ask me how to do that, and if you'd be interested in a video for that, then I guess I could make one on how I did this. Both the custom shaped shield, although it's gotta be said, now that I've seen this, I don't think I will ever unsee just how ugly the edges on this are. But, I'm not gonna fix it, and you can't make me. Anyways, I've been Zicargo, this has been fun. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys very soon with the next one. For now, goodbye.